What's up, everybody? Straw Hats Are Cool here, and we are back again with another video. Before we get into today's video, I do just want to apologize, as it has been a little longer than I would have liked between uploads. I was pretty sick last weekend, and unfortunately was not feeling up to recording Market Watch until now. I had a pretty nasty cough last week, so it made it very hard to record. I did try at one point, but I probably shouldn't have, because I think that kind of just made things worse for a little bit. But I'm feeling much better now, and I'm very excited to record another episode of Market Watch for you guys. I really kind of bummed out that I had to delay this one, as we did finally get the release of Op05. So I do hope that everyone who opened product had good luck. Hope you all got what you were looking for and all that good stuff. So we've got a lot to talk about today. So we've got a new set. So once we get to set 5 stuff, I'm going to do things a little differently than normal, just because it's a new set, and this is going to be the first Market Watch I've done with the new set. Also, just as always, thank you so much to everyone who's continuing to support the channel. We did a stream when we opened our Op05 case that we got a little early. That was a lot of fun, and we got a lot of support from that, so thank you for that. If you haven't already, do consider joining our Discord. I did open a Discord pretty recently, and I will have a link for an invitation down below in the comments. We've been doing some giveaways on there. We're doing our 3rd giveaway right now for a sealed copy of ST07. So if you'd like a chance at getting your hands on that, be sure to join the Discord. And then there is a channel for giveaways. All you got to do is react to the post. There's kind of like the little confetti horn thing on there. All you got to do is click that, and you will be entered into the giveaway. I also did get a TCG player affiliate link. So if you would like to support the channel in another way other than just liking and subscribing to the channel, which really that is more than enough. If you can't afford to buy anything, don't feel the need. But if you are looking to pick up some singles on TCG Player, do consider using my affiliate link, which I will have linked down below in the comments. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the Market Watch and start things off with our mangas as per usual. Starting off with Shanks, still at about $1,400, so I'm not going to really spend a lot of time talking about this one. Not a lot of change here, though I do want to point out, as always, that there are listings that pop up under $1,000. There were 2 that sold for $906 the other day. So if you're looking to pick up a copy of Manga Shanks, I would say be patient, keep your eye on the card, try and find a listing closer to $1,000 and pick that up if you have the opportunity. And only do that, of course, if you've got the money and are really looking to pick up this card, as it is a lot of money to spend on one card. But if you've got the money and you're looking to pick one up, don't buy at this price. Try and find one that'll pop up with a cheaper price tag. There are quite a few listings that pop up around the $1,000, and I'd say that's probably what you're trying to aim for if you're looking to pick up a copy of this card right now. Next up is Ace. Kind of the same dealio with this one. There haven't been a lot of sales recently. The most recent one was on December 8th, but before that we were looking at the end of November. We are at December 15th at the time of this recording, so it has been a minute, and we've got one here at $900 that is not selling. So just something to keep in mind there. Maybe people have decided that really this is too much money to spend on the manga Ace right now. So if you're looking to pick one up, maybe try and hold off and see if something cheaper pops up. But really, it looks like the ones that are selling have been around $900. So I'd say this is honestly kind of like Shanks. This is probably the price you're looking to pick up if you want to buy a copy of Ace. But again, it is a lot of money for a card, so only do it if you have the means to do so. And yeah, $900 is probably what you're you're aiming to get if you want to buy this card, but I'm not too sure. There haven't been a lot of sales, so it's kind of hard to say. If you want to maybe try and find something a little cheaper, just keep your eye out. But really, I'd say right now that this is about the going price, so this might not be a bad copy to pick up if you're looking to get your hands on a copy of the Manga Ace. Next up, we've got Soga King, which is about just under $500, but a little over with shipping, up from where it's been over the last couple months, but still one of the cheaper manga cards. There hasn't been a ton of sales on this one either, but it seems like $500 is about the price you're gonna have to pay if you're looking to pick up Soga King at this point in time. There were a couple listings that sold for a little more than 500, and that seems to be where the price has settled for the time being. So I would say right around $500, like this listing here, is what you're looking to snag a copy of Manga Soga King at right now. May end up biting the bullet on this one myself and picking up a copy here before too long, as it is the only card I am in need of to complete my master set of Pillars of Strength. So kind of something I'm considering picking up. I wish I would have done it while they were closer to like $250 though. I did know a guy who had one, and I wish I would have picked it up from him long before now, as we are looking at about double the price that it was at the time. Next up is Sabo. Still one of the cheaper manga rares. It's at $450 with shipping right now, and they are selling right now. I do think that this one has the most potential to see a spike in price, as the card is very good in the blue-black Sakazuki deck, and the people who are really wanting to bling their deck out may be interested in picking up some additional copies of this card just for the flex. Personally, not something I would ever do or something I would recommend doing. You know, I think these sorts of cards are meant for display. I've got my copy in a nice little hard case that is now put in a frame, and it looks very nice on my wall. But if that's the kind of thing you're into, by all means, don't let me stop you. But it did see kind of a spike in price and was up over 500 for a minute, but it seems like things have settled back down around $450. So if you're looking to pick up a copy of Sabo, I think this is probably the price you're looking to beat right now, is about $450. Haven't seen hardly any listings come up cheaper than that. Do keep in mind though that this one is from a seller with only 2 sales, and they only go up from there. If you're looking for a gold star verified seller, you're looking at about $570. But you could take your chance on this one. I think this is a good price. There are people who buy at this price, so it's just something you got to be cautious of. Just don't let them scam you or anything like that. But this is probably the price you're wanting to pay if you're looking to pick up a copy of Sabo. So for the most part, of the original 4, you've got some cheaper listings on Sabo and Soga King and Ace. And if you're looking to pick up Shanks, I just watch the listings on this one closely and try to buy it at about $1,000 if you're looking to pick one up. Now for Op05, we got 3 new manga rares. So we're going to start off with Eustace Captain Kidd. He is sitting at about $600 right now, and there have not been a lot of sales on this card. Personally, if you're looking to pick up these cards, I'd probably wait a little longer before biting the bullet on these, because there is second wave shipments that are supposed to be hitting stores pretty soon. I heard some rumors that some stores were getting their second shipment today as of the recording on Friday, December 15th. I don't know if that was true at all, but I did hear that some of the stores, at least in my local area, were supposed to be getting their some second wave shipments today. So because of that, there probably will, as those shipments get out, there should be kind of a resurgence of these cards being put into the market as more product gets opened up. And because it's not selling at this price, I'd say there's a good chance that this one comes down. But, you know, take what I say with a grain of salt. I am by no means a financial advisor or anything. I'm just a guy on the internet who really likes this card game and want to share my thoughts with you. But right now they've been selling at about $600, and that's what it's sitting at. So if you think that's a good price, go for it. But personally, I would probably wait on this one for some of those next shipments to get out, as it doesn't seem to be a very hot buy right now. So I'd try and wait and see if maybe this one gets closer to 500, if not a little below that. Next up, we've got Trafalgar Law. This one, the cheapest listing right now is at $826, but I want to point out here that, again, there's not a ton of sales, more on this one than Kid, and I do think that probably is just because Law is a more popular character than Kid. I think that is definitely a factor, as the Kid is really a much better card in terms of playability than the Law, but when they were selling at about $600. This listing at $826 has not sold, and people don't want to seem to bite the bullet on that, which makes sense because similar to what I said with Kid, there will be more cases getting shipped out to stores here in the near future. So there is a very good chance that as more of these cards get put into the market, the price on these will come down pretty considerably. So if you're really impatient and want your Law, look for 600. Don't buy at this price. It should come down. Now, of course, the Monkey D. Luffy is the one I'm sure most people, myself included, this is the one you want. This is my most wanted card from the set. Unfortunately, I was not able to get my hands on this one. I didn't get any of the chase cards despite how many boxes I opened, which I'm not going to get into because I'm a little sad right now because I opened some boxes off stream on release, and unfortunately I didn't get any of the chase cards, and that's in addition to the case that I opened on stream. But this is of course going to be the most expensive card of the mangas, at least, as it's Luffy. It's the protagonist of the series. It's got some of the most iconic scenes on this card, so yeah, this one's going to be more expensive than the others. And of the manga cards, they've all been coming down in price. I mean, you can see with the Kid and the Law, they weren't really selling at the price they're at now, and on release the prices were a little higher than this, but they did start to come down because people weren't buying it. This one, on the other hand, has gone up. There were some listings around $1,500-$1,600, and now we're looking at $1,900 for our cheapest listing, and there are listings selling at that price. But again, I would say probably wait, because as more of these cards get put into the market, the price should, in theory, come down. But this is the one I'd be the most skeptical on, just because it's Luffy and it's just an incredible card. So I said I was going to get my hands on this card at any cost, but I don't know if I could justify spending this kind of money on a card. So unfortunately, I think I'm just going to have to wait on this one. But that is it for the new mangas. This isn't a manga, but I feel like it deserves to be included in our kind of opening discussion, as these are just kind of our top end chase cards from each set. In Op05, we do also have the gold stamp signature version of the Monkey D. Luffy with the art, which was drawn by the author Ichiro Oda. And this card is currently at $1,600, closer to $1,700. And I think that was kind of interesting because I really think that everyone thought this would be the most expensive card in the set by like a country mile. But it's actually the Manga Luffy, which I always said this is the card I wanted more. Like, this card's sick and I would love to own this one as well. But if I could pick between the two, I always said I wanted the Manga Luffy. And it seems like most people seem to be in my mindset, because this one's actually come down in price a little bit. Initially, I was seeing this one at like $4,000 on Facebook, then 3, some at 2. Like, the price was all over the place. But now that it's here on TCG Player, we're looking at about $1,700. And, you know, all things considered, that's not as bad as I think a lot of people were expecting. There was a guy in my local area who bought 2 or 3 boxes, I'm not really sure, and he pulled 2 of these. So you know, screw that guy, I guess. Save some for the rest of us. And it was a guy who wasn't even really into the game and ended up just selling them to the LGS right thereafter. So that's kind of sad, but that luck's stupid. So anyways, that is it for our chase cards, if you will. Let's go ahead and talk about, you know, the previous sets before we get into our Op05 discussion. We'll try and get through these ones pretty quickly. Starting off with Op01, we've got our leaders. Not a lot of change here. Laws under $400 now. Still the most expensive leader in the set by quite a bit. $385 is a lot. Zoro's under 300. Dofi's going back down. It was rivaling Zoro there for a minute, but it's back down to 170. The Luffy's also down a little bit, and everything else is kind of where it has been. But in general, the prices on the OP01 leaders are actually trending slightly downward from where they have been, which I think is a little interesting. So something to just keep in mind there, but really not a huge change, just some slight, very, very slight trend downwards. Really, the law is the only one that's gone down much, as it has been sitting at around 400, a little over. So this is a little less, still a lot of money to spend on a leader though. But if you're looking to pick one up, this is probably, I guess, the time to do it, as they are down a little bit, and I really don't see them getting much cheaper than this. Next up, sealed OP01s at $475. It's a lot of money to spend on sealed. I wouldn't do it. Yeah. All right, let me rephrase that. I wouldn't buy sealed at this price unless you intend to keep it sealed. I like opening my boxes, so like if there's a box in my house, it's probably getting open. I would not buy at this price and even think about opening. If you're buying sealed at this price, you're keeping it sealed. And if that's the kind of thing you're into, by all means. Zoro, this is the alternate art rush Zoro. It is the cheapest it has been in quite some time. It's actually coming down in price. You can see in the last month, it's actually down pretty significantly. Down about, I don't know, 10-20%, somewhere in that range. It's been around 110, 115-ish, and now we're looking at under $90 on this copy. This is from a verified seller, so Zoro is going down. And I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. Red's not as good as in this set, and of course power creep is a factor as well. This is a set 1 card, still a very, very powerful card, and one that a lot of people are going to want in their collection. But as things get power crept, they may end up trending downward price. I will say I'm a little surprised with this one, as I still think personally it's a very playable card, especially in decks like Red Purple Law in the current format. I've even seen some lists of Newgate that are running a very rush heavy build that are also including some copies of this Zoro. So if you haven't picked up a copy of this Zoro and want one for your collection, I'd say this is probably a good buy right now, as it is a set 1 card, and as things get more and more like out of print, I guess, there's a very high likelihood that these prices go up, and it is a fan favorite character. Next up is Nami, also coming down in price a little bit, I think, from where we looked at last. They were up over 300, and you can see the last sales, which were 3 days ago, were still over 300, but not many people are wanting to buy at this price, and still no one's buying at this price. So I'd say there's even a chance that this one goes down a little lower, getting closer to where it was before the banned and restricted announcement that ended up getting undone. Before that, I want to say it was around 230, and then after that it kind of tanked and was down under 200, and then everything got undone. It shot back up to around 3 or almost 400, I want to say, and then no one was buying, and now the price is slowly coming back down. But as this is not selling at this price, I'd say wait and keep your eye on this one. Hopefully you can find one maybe closer to $250, and I'd say that's probably a good price to buy at right now. Next up, we've got Kinemon, and this one, it's down from where it was earlier this week. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of you who are watching this do, but they did officially spoil the leaders from EB01, and as I said in the last video, it was rumored or leaked that the leaders were Odin, Kyros, and Hannibal, focused on supporting the Wano, the Dressrosa, and the Impel Down archetypes. And I did mention this card in the last video and said if that Odin card ended up being a green leader, this could be a good buy, as it would synergize with the leader. It's a very leader specific card, as your leader does need to be Odin in order to get both effects on this card. And the Odin leader is red green, so this will work with it. And upon that initial leak, this card shot up in price a lot. It went up to, I think at its highest, it was around $10. It is settling back down now, and we're looking at about $3 with 99 cents shipping. So still up quite a bit from where it was. I mean, that's like a 200% increase. I think it was like under $1 still, as it is on its own without the Odin leader, one of the worst SRs, just because you don't get both effects. But with the new Odin leader, this could be pretty good. The new Odin leader actually seems pretty strong, and this is a card that does synergize with the leader effect as well. So depending on what other land of, or I guess not even land of Wano, specifically the Akazaya 9 type characters, depending on if we get more of those and if they're any good, kind of depends on how well this card will fit into the deck. But it is up right now, so if you've been sitting on a bunch of these SRs, could be a good time to unload them, as they're actually worth something now. Same dealio with the alt. I think it peaked at around 34, but we're looking at $27, and they are selling it. There are some selling at this price, I should say. So if you've been sitting on some alts that you just didn't think were worth unloading at the initial price, could be a good time to do so. I'm glad I ended up finishing my playset of these shortly after I posted the last Market Watch video, because I was like, they're like $10 each. I'm just going to go ahead and finish my playset on the off chance that the new Odin leader is green and this card does synergize with it, and it ends up being something I want to play in my deck, just because I am personally a big fan of Odin as a character. Next up is Law. The alt art Law from OP01 is also, I want to say, the lowest I've seen it in quite some time. If you look at the price chart in the last month, it's down about $10, so pretty sizable decrease in price there as well. And I do find this a little surprising, as Red Green Law should still be one of the better decks in this upcoming format. I haven't done a tier list video myself, but of the ones I'm looking at, most of the competitive players are still viewing this deck very highly, and this is still going to be a 4 of in those decks, though there is the SP variant from OP04 as well now that players can kind of choose between playing in their decks. This is still my favorite art for the card, so I've still got my 4 copies of this one, and if you're looking to pick up a copy of this card, I'd say this is probably the time to buy it, as it's the lowest I've seen it in a while. It's a popular character, and the deck is still very playable, so I'd say there's a good chance this one goes back up. And It could even go up as soon as this weekend, depending on how the tournament goes over there. I do believe the first Op05 tournament will be happening this weekend. So depending on what ends up doing well there, could have a pretty big impact on the market. Next up is Yamato, and I just want to talk about this one real quick again because we are getting a new Wano leader, so I'm sure there are going to be some people who are going to start hoping on this card again. My 2 cents are, don't buy this card, it's bad. I don't care if we got a new Wano leader, and because it's a 5 cost, it synergizes with the new Odin leader. This card is still bad and doesn't do anything for the deck. I do think, if anything, the rare Denjiro from this set could be a good buy. It's just a rare, but it's a 5 cost. It's got better stats, and the new Odin leader actually gives all characters that are Wano type without counter 1k counter. So that card actually gets quite a bit better. I still think this card is too susceptible to removal, being a 5 cost 5k. You know, it's just got bad stats, and it needs to live a turn in order to do anything. Same thing with Denjiro, but it's got better stats. It's got vanilla stats, and in that Odin deck it will have counter, which is pretty nice and could put a lot of pressure on the opponent. This card just doesn't have any on play value though, and for being a 5 cost 5k, I just think that is too weak for the direction of the game right now. Next up is Doflamingo. This card is also the lowest I've seen in a little bit. So with a lot of these OP01 cards, I am seeing that there is kind of an overall downwards trend in the prices right now, which is good for newer players as it gives them an opportunity to pick up some cards for their collection if that's what they're looking to do. So $62 right now. And as I was looking at the sales history, there actually haven't been all that many sales for this card in the last month in general. So maybe people just thought the price was too high and weren't buying. Personally, I think this is still one of the best blockers for blue. Like, with what blue is trying to do, I think even into Op06, this is still a very good card, as it synergizes with cards like the 9 cost Sanji secret rare, which we will be getting in Op06. So honestly, I think this one's a pretty good buy too. Keep your eye on it. Maybe it gets a little lower, but I think this is a good buy. And last up for OP01, I just want to talk about Jack for a minute, because it's still one of the cheaper cards in OP01, and I know I mentioned it recently because there were some OP06 players in the East who are trying some decks out that were including this card. Doesn't seem like they've done too well, but the card is going up in price slowly, so if you don't have a copy of Jack in your collection, I would probably do it now, as I only see this card going up as time goes on. That's it for OP01. Let's jump into OP02. Starting things off with our leaders. Overall, our leader prices here are down a bit too. There was a period where Garp shot up over 100, so I guess I hope you sold then, because now we're back down to 67, which seems more reasonable for Garp in my opinion. Newgate is still leading the pack as the most expensive leader for OP02, but Smoker has now again taken second place, and some of these other cards have dropped down just a little bit. But in general, I think this is kind of more in line with where I'd expect prices to be. I feel like these are all fair prices for the leaders, except maybe Newgate's a little expensive, and I feel like Smoker's a little expensive, but Smoker is a weirdly popular character in my opinion, so I guess it makes sense. Sealed OP02s at $255 right now. I want to say that's down a little bit. I want to say last time we checked it was around 270, so down a little bit, but again, my opinion on sealed for older sets like this: if you buy sealed, keep it sealed. Don't buy these and even think about opening them, which is why I'm never going to buy them, because if there's a box in my house, I'm going to open it. All right, starting things off, we've got our Portgasty Ace alternate art. It's down at $50 now. So kind of as I suspected, as we got into OP05, this one would come down in price. For the majority of the OP04 format, when we were doing the market watches, this one was up closer to $70. And now as we're entering OP05, it's coming back down, which was kind of what I expected, as Newgate is a lot less prevalent in the current format, though we'll have to see what we cook up here in the West, and maybe this card goes back up in price again. Want to talk about the film cards real quick. Your alternate art Luffy and alternate art Nami. They are down a bit in price, about $30 on the Luffy and $40 on the Nami. Keep in mind, we do get the Uta starter deck at some point early next year, and that leader, it's pretty good. It is very much a film-centric leader. It will run 4 copies of both of these cards. And once that deck releases, these could go back up in price. So if you're really hyped for the Uta deck and you want to bling that out, I would say pick up these cards now, as these will probably just get more expensive as that deck gets closer to releasing. Magellan's at $12 right now, and it's been at around $12, but I'm bringing this one up just because, like I said, we do have a tournament happening this weekend, and depending on what happens at that tournament, for example, if Luffy does really well, this is a card that I could see going up even further in price from where it's at now. If you've been playing a long time like me, you probably remember when this card was like 99 cents, if not less. And the fact that it's $12 now is still kind of baffling to me, but it does work very well in the Luffy deck. And if that deck does well this weekend, this one could see some more hype, and it could go up in price some more. I know some of the better players in the game have been eyeing up this deck, so it's one I could see doing well and potentially even winning this event this weekend. Same dealio with the alt art, could go up in price depending on how things go this weekend. I think this one is actually starting to go up again. It's been around $32, and this one's got $5 shipping at $34, so we're looking at closer to $40 now. So I think prices on this one are actually going up just a little bit. The Uta alternate art, $30 right now. If you want one for your collection, it's probably a fair price to buy at. Like I said before, I kind of told you so. This card just isn't good. There was some hype for the red-purple Uta leader, who in general just seems to be a pretty underwhelming leader in the grand scheme of things, which is a bit unfortunate, as I thought that deck looked like a lot of fun to play, but I always said this card was going to be bad in that deck, so I hope you didn't buy these when they were up at like $50. It is a good looking card, so definitely recommend grabbing one for your collection, but definitely not a card you need 4 of. So if you want one, this is probably a good price to buy at. So again, it's an older set, and things just will probably go up from here, but definitely hope you didn't buy during the Uta hype. And then last for OP02 is just our black Borsellino and Kuzan SRs and alternate arts. Borsellino is still about $30, whereas Kuzan is a little under $20. And again, depending on how things go this weekend, I could see these cards going up a little more, though I think of the cards, these ones are probably the most stable, because I'd say there's actually a chance that Blue Black Sakazuki was a little bit overhyped going into the OP05 format, and I'd be more inclined to say these ones might go down from where they're at now. We do see with the alts specifically that they have come down in price quite a bit. During the initial hype, they were both around $100, and now we're back down closer to $70 on both of them. So something to keep in mind if you're really excited for the Blue Black Sakazuki deck, maybe consider buying your alternate arts now as they are down, and if it does take over the format like some people are expecting, they could go back up again. Well, that is it for OP02. Let's quickly jump into OP03. Not a lot to talk about in this one, so gonna probably get through 03 and 04 pretty quick, which gives us plenty of time to talk about OP05. First, we've got our leaders, of course. Katakuri is going to be one of the best leaders in this current format. I'm letting you guys know right now. If you look at the listings too, you'll see that there are not a lot of listings left on Katakuri. It's at $150. I would probably buy this one now if you don't have it, because I do expect this one to do well. And with only 7 listings left, someone could buy all of those right now and the price could go up. I wouldn't be surprised if this card is $200 by the next Market Watch video. Nami's at $130, Ace is $80. Everything else is about the same except your Black Yellow Big Mom is actually up a little bit, and there is a little bit of hype surrounding this leader right now, as it seems like people have figured out that this deck actually has a really good matchup into Blue Black Sakazuki. So if that deck ends up taking over, this could end up being a pretty popular rogue deck that is specifically geared towards countering that deck. But we'll have to see how things go this weekend, if Blue Black Sakazuki even ends up taking over the format like some people expect it to. For your sealed Op05, we're looking at about $160, which in the grand scheme of things isn't terrible, but for the cards in this set, like, I still wouldn't open a box at this price. You could get one at MSRP, sure. You could end up making a bunch of money if you open a wanted card and like a Katakuri leader, but that's a extremely big gamble, so I wouldn't do it. In general, the prices in Op03 are pretty low, so if you're buying sealed, keep sealed. Don't buy with the intention of opening. Starting things off, we've got our wanted Kaido, which is actually down quite a bit in price. I want to say this one's been around $80, $85 for a little while now, and right now this is a lightly played copy, but if you look at the other listings, we've got a near mint at $72. So it is down a little bit, and like I was saying with Magellan, same thing applies here. If Purple Luffy does really well this weekend, I see this card going up in price again. If it ends up flopping and not doing anything or making any tops, this card could go down even further. So personally, I would say if you want a copy of this card, I might pick up this copy right now, because I do think this is going to be a good deck, and I can see this one going back up, especially because it's also just a pretty good card for collectors as well. For Rob Lucci, I'm just bringing this one up. I'm probably just bringing this up because it's Rob Lucci, and I really like this card. I like the art on it. It is going up in price for some reason though. Over the last month, it's gone up a little bit. Like, I mean, you can see this is pretty convincing upward trend on this card. I'm not sure why this card doesn't see any play, and it probably won't unless we get some good new CP cards. We did get the 4-cost Rob Lucci, which is a very good card in set 5, but without any other CP cards or CP leaders, I don't really see this card doing anything, but maybe I'm wrong. If you know why this one's gone up a little bit, let me know. Might just be that it's a good looking card, and personally my favorite villain, but I don't know. Just wanted to point out that it is going up in price though. Next up, for our yellow stuff, crackers are at $10, and they're sitting pretty steady here. So hopefully you've been watching the channel for a little while, and if you have, you probably remember I pointed this card out when it was still like under $2. I hope you pick up your copies then. Like I said, this card sees a lot of play in Op05, both in NL and Katakuri, so definitely a card you're going to want to have in your collection, and hopefully pick them up earlier, because we are looking at about $10 now, and they do seem pretty stable at this price. And as I do believe yellow is going to be one of the more dominant decks in the current format, I don't really see this one going up anymore in price from where it's at, but I do think it will be stable here for a little while. Same thing for the alternate art. These ones were at about $25 when I brought them up initially. We're looking at about $40 now. Only thing I wish is that I picked up my 4th copy at that price. I've only got 3 right now, and I am considering picking up Katakuri. Unfortunately, I may be falling to the dark side and playing a yellow deck in the current format. I will say, from what I've played, I don't love this format, but it is what it is. 10 cost Lin is going up a little bit in price as well. This is a lightly played copy, and if you look at the near mint copies, we're actually at about $30 with shipping now. This one's been around $20, so again, I'm gonna say to myself, I wish I finished my playset while they were a little cheaper, but it's still not terrible. And honestly, I'm gonna pick up these cards now because I do fear that they'll go up in price some more, because I do think that Katakuri is going to be one of the best leaders in the current format, and it is one of the leaders that can abuse this card. Katakuri, Secret Rare, both the alternate art and regular, are starting to go up a little again. When we've talked about yellow in the last couple episodes, these cards were actually down quite a bit. The secret was about 50. The alt, I want to say, got as low as like $60, $70. And now they're going back up. Katakuri is really good, both in Katakuri and I would say even better in NL. So if you're looking to play either of those decks, this is definitely a card you're going to want. So it makes sense that the price is going up. That's it for OP03. Let's dive into OP04. And this one's going to be short, as there's really not a lot to talk about here. With our leaders, they're all still very cheap. Like half them are under $30, and the other ones, they cap at 60. So far and away the cheapest set in terms of leaders and just cards in general. Sealed is still only $104. Honestly, I wouldn't even open these boxes at this price though, because in general the set is just so cheap. You could buy these and sit on them with the hopes that they'll go up in price, and honestly, with the direction the game's going, I mean, they probably will. So if you're looking to buy sealed and hold on to it, this might be a good set to do it on. Though the set is really just a little underwhelming in comparison to all the other sets. So I really can't say on this one. It seems like this one was printed a lot and people just weren't super into the set just because it didn't have a very big impact on the game. With that said, there are still good cards in the set, and there weren't any super standout cards that I wanted to talk about specifically, so we're just going to quickly look at the set as a whole. Boa SP's most expensive non-manga card. The SP Law is down, just like with the regular one from set 1. It's actually a little cheaper than that one. Newgate's back down to 50. Speaking of Newgate, we didn't actually talk about Newgate in set 2, so we might take a look at that here real quick. I think the most noteworthy cards are probably Magellan. Like I said, if Pluffy does well, could go up. And then again, your yellow cards. Capone is up. This one was been sitting around $25. Now it's at $32 with only 14 listings left. So kind of same thing with Sanji. Not a lot of listings left on either of these. And if yellow does well this weekend, I expect to see a buyout on these cards. Could even see a buyout now in the anticipation of what could happen this weekend. And these two cards could go up pretty significantly in price if yellow ends up doing well. But other than that, not a lot to talk about with OP04. Everything's pretty in line with where it has been over the last couple months. So with that, we're going to go ahead now and finally jump into OP05. Now, like I said, I'm going to do things a little different for this set just because it's new. So kind of like we just did with OP04, I just want to look at the set as a whole and talk about where things are at. That way, in future Market Watch videos, we can kind of compare to this and see where things go. So, booster, your cases are expensive. For those of you who have been in my Discord or just interacted with me at all, my hypothesis was that OP05 would settle in price similar to OP04, because despite the fact that this is a much more hyped set, I was of the belief that this set would get printed even more than set 4, which seemed to meet the demand pretty well. And so I expected sealed prices to be more in line with where set 4 was on release. That was not the case at all, so I will take the L on that one. I was wrong, but we'll see where things go once we get second and third wave shipments out, which should be coming soon. My understanding is that there will be more product getting shipped out before the end of the month, and then even some more early January. So hopefully that will correct the prices on sealed product, and everyone will be able to get the sealed product they're looking for. But unfortunately, if you weren't able to pre-order some or pick some up on release, prices are a little bit high on your cases and your sealed boxes as well. $170 is a little absurd, but it just goes to show how much success the game is seeing and how much demand there is for the game and this set in particular. Same thing with the double packs. They're absurdly overpriced right now. Not going to talk about the mangas because we already did that at the beginning of the video. So in terms of non-manga cards from the set, we're looking at 115 for our Nami, which is one of the most expensive cards in the set right now, kind of tied with Sakazuki almost. Sakazuki leader is a little more, about 120. So yeah, I gotta say with these SPs, if you're a collector, get one of each of these SPs. These are some of the best looking cards in the game right now. So yeah, Nami, most expensive SP, makes sense to me. It's Nami. Great art. The foiling and texture on these really are incredible. But kind of like I was saying with the mangas on these cards, now I did end up buying one of these yesterday from a guy at my locals, just because I'm looking to finish my set. Just need Uta now. But as more product gets put onto the market and onto the shelves of stores, these prices could come down, and especially for like just more of the collector cards like the SPs, I could see them coming down as more product gets shipped out. So unless you're super impatient like me, I'd keep your eye on this one and wait, because I think as more product gets shipped out, these will get a little cheaper, but it is Nami, so it could also just get more expensive. For your Sakazuki leader, I'd say this is where I expected the price to land. Same thing for Pluffy and NL. These are about where I expected the prices to be on these cards. These are the 3 best leaders from the set. Definitely will have an impact on the metagame. And it makes sense that Sakazuki is the most expensive, as it was the most hyped leader going into the set. And with Luffy being right thereafter, second most hyped deck for sure. And also it's just Luffy, so it's going to be expensive no matter what. NL, maybe a little cheaper than I was expecting, but from what I can see from the OP05 meta in the East, does make sense, as this deck did well in the beginning, but as the set went on, it seemed like people figured out how to play against this deck, and so the popularity started to fall off towards the end of the OP05 meta in the East. Yamato is your second most expensive SP at $80, and this is one of the cards that's actually gone up in price. Most of the SPs have dropped quite a bit, like the Nami was closer to 200, if not a little more, during pre-sale and then early release, but after that it's dropped down quite a bit. The Yamato on release day was actually at $60, but now it's back up at $80. I don't know if this is just because the card looks good and collectors want it. Does look great. If you watch the stream, we did end up pulling this one in our first case, which was pretty cool. Or it could be that people are like hyped up because of the new Odin leader, but like I said with the secret rare itself, this card's bad. It's a great looking card, one you definitely want for the collection, but the card's bad. And if someone ends up winning or topping with this, you can tell me to eat my words, but the card's bad. That's my opinion on it. SPNL is up as well. I actually didn't notice that until now. This one was down at like 50. I picked up my copy at around 50. Did some trades and then a little bit of cash to make up the difference. But yeah, this one's actually $75 now, rivaling Yamato with only 8 listings left as well. This is one of the more playable SPs in my opinion. I haven't tested a lot with this card in any deck right now, but I mean, it's a rush card and it is hard to remove, so could be good. Definitely curious to see how things end up going this weekend and if this card ends up being something that people need to keep their eye on. Now, I just want to talk about this card because if you watched one of my previous market watches where I talked about pre-sales, the regular secret rare Luffy was at like $60 and there were people buying it at pre-sale $60 for the regular, and the alternate art is now only $60. The alternate art is as much as people were paying for the regular art pre-sale. Just don't buy the pre-sales, guys. I don't care what card it is, don't buy the pre-sales. It's a scam. But $65 on the Luffy, I think that's honestly a pretty good price. It's Gear 5 Luffy. The art's great, and I think it's one of the most fun cards to play, just in general. I did end up going 4-0 at a locals last night, playing kind of a stupid version of Red Purple Luffy, running 4 copies of this Gear 5. Got my 4 alts already, so that was a lot of fun. Definitely a fun card. Definitely one you want for the collection. Bello Betty. This one is actually going up. It was around $45, and now that the set's been out for a week, it's going up in price, which I'm a little bit surprised because the deck's not bad. The deck is not a total meme, but the deck definitely, well, I shouldn't say definitely. In my opinion, this deck is not going to produce serious competitive results. This is not a deck I see winning an event. I can see 1 or 2 squeaking into the top of events here and there, but not one I see winning a major event for sure. But it is going up in price, so if you're looking to pick one up, honestly, like I said with a lot of the other cards this set, wait for those next shipments to get out, see where things go from there. If you're impatient though and you're scared that the price goes up, I mean, it's an alt art leader. I'm sure it will maintain its value over the course of time. May go back down here in the next couple weeks, but I'm sure throughout the life of this game, they will go up eventually. Your alternate art Rebecca. Now this is the most expensive like character alt that's not a secret rare or an SP. Just like generic alt from the set, this is the most expensive. Makes sense. This card is stupid broken. Only 17 listings on this one too. It's just good in every black deck, but there are ways of countering it that people have figured out. So definitely not good in every matchup, but it's just a good card, and also waifu tax is a factor. So it makes sense that this is the most expensive alternate art in the set. We've got our SP Uta here. This is the last one I need to complete my collection. Been pretty stable around $50. Is actually up a little bit. It was around 45 and now we're looking at 55. So a little bit of an increase there, but nothing serious. Lucci is the second most expensive character alt that's not an SP or a secret from the set at $52 thereabout. Something to keep in mind though, this one's got 42 listings, this one's only got 17, so the Rebecca could end up going up even further in price if this card gets bought out. This one doesn't seem to be in range of getting bought out though, so this one's probably pretty stable around $52. And again, makes sense. It's one of the best cards in the set. 2-for-1 removals, just incredible, especially on a vanilla stat body. And with the shenanigans that Blue Black Sakazuki is able to pull, you are very easily able to remove 2 high-cost characters with this effect. So, very powerful card. And also, it's my boy Rob Lucci, so I love this card. That's all I gotta say. Your alternate art Eustace Captain Kidd, also one of the better cards from the set, $45 right now. And this one's been pretty stable around that price. Again, pre-sale prices were stupid, and then on release it dropped down to about $45, and it's only a couple more dollars than it was then, $46 right now. But again, I will say, I think Floofy is maybe getting slightly slept on. Now, I could be wrong because personally, I don't like the deck. I don't like playing the deck. It's just not, it doesn't fit my play style, but I do have to respect the deck. I think it is a good deck. And I do think there are a lot of people who are sleeping on the deck right now. I think it might be a little, I don't know what the right word I'm looking for is, but I think people think the deck is actually not great from what I can hear. There are a lot of people who are like, yeah, this deck's kinda, it's fine, but it's not great. And I think people might be cooking up a slightly different build that's a little better into the current format. So I could definitely see this one doing very well this weekend, and as a result, the price on this card goes up. Sabo and Corazon, the last 2 leaders of the set, both of them are pretty cheap, just under $40 on both of them. Lots of listings on them, so price is pretty stable for those 2. It makes sense. Neither of them are particularly playable. It's a real shame for Sabo though, because I do think the effect is good, but with the fact that Blue Black Sakazuki is as oppressive as it is, and the fact that it's blue and has access to bottom deck really does mitigate the effectiveness of the Sabo leader effect, as it only protects from KO and not from bottom deck. So unfortunately, because of just how good Blue Black Sakazuki is, this deck is not very playable right now. And then Corazon's just kind of memey, but he's a fun leader. Someone did okay with him at my locals last night. They were 2-1 going into round 4. I don't recall how they finished, but honestly, if Blue Black Sakazuki didn't exist, this deck wouldn't be terrible in my opinion. And then for our last 2 SPs, Lucci and Kaido are both pretty cheap, around $30. Unfortunately, this is the one that I pulled in multiples. I've got 3 copies of this card in my binder right now, but it's still a great looking card, and definitely recommend that you all pick up these for your collection if you're into collecting. If you're just into playing at base rarity, these aren't cards you need, but if you're a collector or just a fan of the series like I am, definitely would recommend picking these up. They look great, and they're SPs, so they could go up as time goes on. Zoro Juro's at $30. This one doesn't see play in Purple Luffy, as far as I'm aware. It does see play in Red Purple Luffy, and if that deck ends up doing well this weekend, this is one that I could see going up in price. My Mimi build wasn't actually running any copies of this card. May end up doing a video. I want to do some more gameplay videos starting next week, just kind of starting to prep for Nationals, as that event is just about a little over a month away now, which is very exciting. So if any of you are going there, be sure to come find me at some point. It's going to be a lot of fun. Porcelino is actually a little lower than I would expect it to be, just because it's a card that's played in Blue Black Sakazuki. Kind of same thing for Mansherry, both very good cards. Really only 2, maybe 3 of on Porcelino in that deck, but still both very good cards. Bello Betty and Koala are around $25. Makes sense. They're waifu taxed, but And they're good cards in the Revolutionary Army decks. And actually, what I will say on these, with the Three Brothers deck, we do get a red yellow Sabo leader, and I do think both of these could be pretty good in that deck if it ends up being good. So if you're hyped for the red yellow Sabo deck, these are cards you could consider picking up. There actually aren't a ton of listings on the Bello Betty, so honestly, with the fact that the leader is going up and there aren't many listings on this leader or on this Bello Betty alternate art, could be a good buy right now. This one could be on the cusp of going up in price. Law got a ton of listings. Unfortunately, this card just doesn't seem to be as good as some people thought it was initially in the red purple Law deck. And in general, I feel like that card just gets a little overpowered by Sakazuki. So in the current Sakaluchi format, I feel like red purple Law just kind of falls a little short, as it does almost feel like the Sakazuki deck just does what that deck wants to do, but a little better at times. So makes sense to me that this one's going down in price. It's actually one of the only alternate arts from the set that I do not personally own, so I'll probably be picking up a copy or two of this one pretty soon. Gadatsu, very good card, especially in NL and the black yellow Big Mom deck, which is seeing a little bit of hype right now. But $20 seems fair on this one. Doesn't see a lot of play in Katakuri, so do keep that in mind. Don't go out of your way to buy this if you're really planning on maining Katakuri. Maybe just a couple copies as a tech, but the issue with this card in Katakuri is that you kind of have to starve your opponent, and that's not what Katakuri is trying to do. You just want to be swinging 7 every turn and triggering bodies out of your deck. So this card doesn't really fit into the playstyle of the Katakuri deck, but it's just a very powerful card in general, so definitely one you'll want if you're planning to play NL or Black Yellow Mom though. Your regular art Secret Rare Luffy is now down to under $20, so again, I'll say don't buy the pre-sales. I hope you didn't. There were people who bought this card at like $60. I don't know if we could even find them now because it's been a minute. Lots of sales over the last week, I'm sure. Yeah, lots of sales. But let's go. We're getting close. Just to remind you all of the mistakes of some other people who decided to buy at a ridiculous price during the pre-sales. All right, we're on almost at release day now. There we go. Pre-sale. Where are the pre-sales? Ooh, look, they were even cheaper on the first day. Yeah, prices were super cheap on release day, but now they're kind of starting to go back up a little bit again. Okay, here we are starting the pre-sales. Okay, here we are. Yeah, people were paying $60, $50 for this card during pre-sale. Don't do it. It's cheap. It's a secret rare. It seems like for secret rares nowadays, you get 4 of each per case. So 4 Luffys and 4 Kaidos in an Op05 case. Baby 5 has also gone up in price. This one was like under $10 on release, and now it's closer to 20. Waifu tax, and I mean, it's a searcher. It's not a bad card by any means, so I guess it's fair. Secret Rare Kaido is pretty cheap, $16. It's a very good looking card, but not the most playable, though there are some people teching it in their blue-black Sakazuki deck. And then NL's at 17. We'll see how this card does this weekend, I guess, as the SP is seeing a bit of hype, I guess. Alti, I remember a lot of people hyped this up during spoilers, and it ended up not being very good. All right, now we're on to our regular SRs and our last couple alternate arts. Kid is actually the most expensive SR, shortly followed by Rebecca, which makes sense, both very good SRs from the set. Lucci's actually quite a bit lower though, which I find a little surprising because these are both 4-ofs in the Sakazuki deck, though I do think in general the Rebecca is just a little more versatile, so I suppose that makes sense. Regular Secret Rare Kaido is cheap because the card's not very good, and then these last 3 alternate arts are pretty cheap. X-Drake, honestly, I'm surprised that it's I can't say I'm surprised that it's this cheap, but I'm surprised that it's the same price as Pika, because I think this card is a lot better than Pika. But Sabo and Pika, neither of them are very good. Pika's pretty bad, and I think Sabo just doesn't have the support it needs to be good. If we ever get more really good power reduction cards that can synergize with this card, I think this card could be incredible, but until then, this card's just kind of meh. And then everything else, it's pretty cheap. The 2 double pack Dons are cheap, Koalas are cheap, Borsalinos are cheap. And in general, prices for the set are just pretty cheap. So if you're looking to pick up singles for base rarity stuff, I would say, as I did with set 4, do it now. Things will probably start to go up over time, though things could end up getting just a little bit cheaper as second wave shipments come out. But I mean, most things are like under $2, except for like your Lucci, your Rebecca, and your Kid. But other than that, everything's super cheap, so buy your singles, don't buy sealed product right now. If you're looking to get stuff for a deck, definitely buy singles. That is it for Op05 though. Let's quickly talk about promos and everything. This video is over an hour long, but hopefully you guys stay true to what you've been telling me and you don't mind these videos running a little longer. Starting off our promos, we've got our Dawn. Straw Hat Dawn are still more expensive than they have been in a little bit. Brooke's a little cheaper, Frankie, Jinbei, Sanji, Usopp a little cheaper, but these 5 are pretty expensive. And most of these, 3 of them are from the offline, and the 2 of these are from the online. So the offline ones seem to be generally a little more profitable, though Jinbei and Frankie are 2 of the cheapest ones. So I guess the average price on your online ones is a little higher. We've got these 2 new first anniversary Dawn for playing in one of the first anniversary events. If you've had the opportunity to do that, you should have gotten a pack with one of these 2 Dawn. Yamato one's definitely the most sought after. This is just another Luffy Dawn, but this is Yamato. Yamato doesn't have a Dawn, so could be also people getting ready to have these for their 06 green yellow Yamato deck. But definitely hope you pull the Yamato Dawn in your Dawn pack if you're attending an anniversary event this weekend. Gordon is down, and honestly, unless you're planning to play a deck with Gordon in this set, which shouldn't be many of them, I might sell this card. I'd probably do it, because in Op06 we get I believe it's a Revolutionary Army version of this card. It's the exact same stats, no counter, and the exact same activate main effect. So unless you're planning to play this card this set, get rid of this one now and just pick up your replacement when Op06 drops. Next up is your winner, Monkey D. Luffy. This is from the Op04 pre-release winner card. This one is down in price. There was a period where it peaked at around $60, and we're back down to about $40, which is much more reasonable. It's a beautiful card. Very nice foiling on this one, so if you are looking for one for your collection, now might be a good time to buy, just in case it does spike back up in price again. This is the new winner card for the anniversary event, so if you attend one of those events where you get the Dawn, this is the winner card for that event. It is the 10-drop vanilla Gear 5 Luffy. Card looks incredible. I actually did manage to win one of these last weekend at one of the anniversary events I attended. That one was a sealed event. Depending on what your store decides to do, they can run it as either a sealed or constructed event. But this card, it's a Luffy winner card. It's a one of in the tournament kit. So unlike the other this anniversary event is kind of like the pre-release for OP05, and unlike with other pre-releases where the kits had 4 winner cards, this one only has 1. So this card probably will stay pretty expensive, as I would say it's more in line with the store championship Luffy, as it's a one of for the kit, and there aren't as many of these events. So I think this one will hold a pretty high price, especially because it's Gear 5 Luffy. The art's pretty sick. Speaking of winner Luffy cards, the super pre-release Luffy winner is up in price. I think the price is a little inflated right now. One did sell at $1,500, and then one sold at $1,100 shortly before that. Nothing's selling at even close to this price, but this card was really hard to get. Super pre-releases were really hard to get into, and as this game is getting more popular with collectors, it does make sense that this card is going up in price. So I'm not surprised it has gone up in price, and I'm kind of happy because I actually have 2 of this one, and I've been looking or considering selling one of them for a while now. So now is probably my time to do that. So I'm probably going to get on that pretty soon. Also, just wanted to bring up Treasure Cup Queen because there are finally some listings on here, and one did sell at $1,200. Like I've said before, unfortunately, this card is way harder to get than it was in the East, and so not many people are going to be blinging their deck out with these, but I'm sure there's someone who's going to be running a Pluffy deck with 4 of these in it. Absolute mad lads for sure. Couldn't be me though. I do have 1 copy, and honestly, it's very tempting to sell it just given how much money it's worth. Next up is Brule. This is a moderately played copy at $42. Your near mint one's closer to $50 again. So I brought this one up. This is one I feel like I talk about almost every week, because it did peak at around $50 in 04. And then towards the end of the format, it settled around $35. And what I said was that this card probably go back up because Brule in the East saw a lot of play. It was a 4 of in most yellow decks. With that said though, it does seem like in our format, with the way people are playing and adapting to the format from how it ended in the East, a lot of people are cutting these from their yellow decks. It could go back down, so I'd be cautious buying this one right now. But if a yellow deck does well this weekend and is playing Brule, this card's going up. Now I've just got all the event pack cards pulled up real quick here because in general everything's gotten a lot cheaper. Bartolomeo is the most expensive one right now, and honestly, if you've got some Bartolomeos, unless you're planning to play Film Uta, I would probably sell these. All of these event pack cards are getting like a reprint. I think they're going to be slightly different as they're going to have a stamp, but they will be given out as participation in at the Nationals event, which will be happening end of January. So these original copies could come down in price. So honestly, if you've got some extra Bartolomeos lying around, I'd say it's a good time to sell them. Probably the same with your Djembes as well, though. If we ever do get any like Doflamingo support, like Warlord 4-cost blue, this one could go up again. But other than that, things are pretty cheap. Suru is one of the more expensive ones from Event Pack 2, as it is a 4 of in Sakazuki. Most decks, I think I saw one that was only running 3, but most decks are running 4 Suru in their Sakazuki. Though again with this one, the Suru, the Sasaki, and the Raizo, for the variation they're getting at Nationals, they're actually like full art. So these copies have a white border, which is kind of ugly in my opinion, but the ones you'll get at Nationals, if you get one. They're actually full art, so they don't have the white border. It's just foiled art, which is really, really cool. So those will be more expensive than this one for sure because they look better. Judge stuff. Judge packs are out now to local stores, and everything tanked like I said it would. The queens honestly aren't even a whole lot more than the regular ones, which is pretty funny. Thunderbolt being the second most expensive copy of the Judge cards right now, though. But in general, the Judge cards are very, very cheap, which is, I guess, nice to see if you want like a slightly more rare version of some of these cards. Like the Buggy's not bad. Yeah, maybe the 3000 Worlds could go up a little if Sakazuki does well and it's running this card. This is one of like the more like tech cards, or cards that you only play if it's what you like or fits your play style. Not all Sakazuki decks are playing this one, but if it does well, could go up in price. I also just wanted to pull up all of the winner pack cards real quick. Reason being, number one, we've got new event pack volume 5 winner cards. Luffy and Kaido are fairly expensive, but your Kid and Croc are relatively inexpensive. But really what I wanted to talk about here was volume 4. So like your Okiku, Tashigi, your Brook, and Mihawk. These are actually pretty cheap right now, and I think that they could go up, because I want to say something similar happened with like starter deck Nami. Now again, it's Nami, it's going to be more expensive than some of these other cards, but the Nami and the Bonnie, and again the Bonnie's come back down, but they're probably at the lowest they'll be. And like Okiku could be good in the Odin deck, but because volume 5 is out now, I'm betting that a lot of game stores who had extra copies of these winter packs just decided to crack them and see if they could sell the cards that they got from those packs. And so if everyone's doing that, there are going to be a lot more of these cards putting onto the market all at once. And as a result, the price is going to go down. So they could go back up, but that's really just speculation on my end. Shigi's definitely the most expensive one. And honestly, these ones could get more expensive if Sakazuki ends up being as good as people think it will be. And then last for promos is just the sealed battle stuff. These sealed battle kit card packs are stupid expensive. The cards are stupid expensive, especially the Nami. The 2 Luffys are pretty expensive as well. The other cards aren't terrible, but I really do hope that they do some other events where they give out these packs. Maybe do some side events at major events that give these packs out, because if these are like unique cards, these aren't alternate arts of other cards or anything. This is the only way to get these cards right now, and I just think it's really poor for the game's health to have cards like this in the game that are very hard to get. None of these cards are particularly good in my opinion, except maybe the Nami, just because it's a 2K. But it still just sucks, because if you want to play these cards in your deck or try these cards in your deck, they're very hard to get. And personally, I think that is a problem. I don't like even like the event pack cards, like the event pack Jinbei and Bart. I think those cards are bad for the health of the game, but that's just my opinion. On to pre-release stuff. I'm gonna be quick because pre-release stuff is boring. Here's your O2 pre-release cards. Ice Sage is expensive because it's played in Sakazuki. Other than that, things are pretty cheap. This Boa is weirdly expensive in my opinion. Thatch is way down. Hopefully you sold these when they were up at like 20 bucks. The Dawn's not too bad, but I don't know, there aren't a ton of listings and it's still a good card, and for the time being that's max rarity, so maybe it'll go up. Probably not though, with that alternate art coming in the like best collection set or whatever it's called. Pilaf's expensive, Khalifa's down but still expensive. Pre-release Bucky is more expensive than the Judge one, which I guess makes sense because this is probably harder to get, but the Judge one is completely foiled, so get the Judge one. Sovereignty's a lot, Shirahoshi's expensive, Bukuro's expensive, and unfortunately this card, despite how good it is kind of bad now because blue is popular because of Sakazuki. Virgo is expensive though. This one's seeing a lot more play in set 6 from what I can see, so honestly I'd sell this one now if you have it. I know I mentioned it at some point in a previous episode, but yeah, it's navy, it's a 2k, so it's seeing some play in 06 from what I can see, so I'm sure that is the reason why this one's got a spike in price recently. 04, again, this set is just pretty cheap in general, but your Baby 5 2k is getting kind of expensive, so you've got those, I'd sell those now. Sasaki's kind of expensive. Yori's around $10, and honestly though, from what I can tell, this card does not see a lot of play in green yellow Yamato, so I might sell this one too if you have it. Now, these first anniversary cards, I can't gauge where the prices on these are going to go, but I have to imagine they're only going down. Don't buy these cards right now. And that leaves us with our starter decks. Starter deck 4 is still $80 and Queens are at $37 now. So still dummy expensive on those. Unfortunately, I really do hope either the starter decks get reprinted or they do some alternate art version of these cards in a future tournament pack or something. But it just sucks right now because there's no way we're getting like a tournament pack before it falls out of relevance, I guess, because in 06 purple sees a lot less play. But for right now, if you want to play purple, this card's stupid expensive, and it's gonna suck because if Purple Luffy does really well this weekend, this card's only going up in price. This is the base rarity version of this card, and it's just really terrible that it's this much for a single starter deck card. Definitely an issue which needs to be addressed on Bandai's end. And even your starter deck 6, and we actually just gave one of these away in the Discord, so we are giving away a yellow starter deck this weekend, but big congrats to the winner of that giveaway who's getting a copy of starter deck 6. I actually haven't shipped that one out, so if the winner of that is watching, I promise I haven't forgotten. I will hopefully be shipping it out tomorrow morning. But yeah, Great Eruption's at $16 and Hina's at $10. You get 2 of these in each deck, so that's already $32, $50 with just those 4 cards there. So yeah, honestly, still cheaper to buy singles, I guess, but the sealed starter decks are also dumb expensive, and I think it's an issue which needs to be addressed. Yellow starter decks still aren't terrible, but this is like more than double MSRP. A single copy of Brule is as much as the starter deck itself really should be. I'm sure that has like 99 cents shipping. Yep. So a single copy of Brule, a starter deck common, is just about the price that the starter decks were in your local game store, or even just like your local grocery store like Target or Walmart. This is a problem, and I think Bandai really needs to jump on this and address it. Get some more starter decks out there. They're starter decks. There's no reason they should be this expensive. This is what's supposed to get people into the game. They should not be some of the most expensive cards in the game right now. But I've been randoming for almost an hour and a half now. This is definitely the longest episode we've done. But I am behind a week because I was sick and a new set came out, so I guess it makes sense. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you watched to the end, thank you so much for watching the video and supporting me along this journey. Before we end today's video though, again, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who's supporting me in the channel. And if you're not already, please join the Discord. We're doing giveaways for the next couple weeks, and you know, just to celebrate the holiday season and as a way for me to give back to all of you, just as thanks for all you've given to me over this last year for the channel. We far and away exceeded our goal. I guess I haven't touched on this, but my goal was to hit 1,000 subscribers by the release of Op05. And while I was ill for the release of Op05, you know, we did hit that goal, and I couldn't have done it without each and every one of you. So really, from the bottom of my heart, I know I say it every week, but really, I do mean it. Thank you all so much for supporting me in the channel. Really means a lot, and honestly, I can't believe we got here in such a short amount of time. I could keep going, but this video is, like I said, almost an hour and a half, so I'm going to cut things here. As always, again, thank you so much for watching, and with that, I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.